Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Madhusudan Sarma, and I welcome you all to the 10th lecture of our N100 series. In this series, we are taking classes from mains perspective. That is, we are picking up the themes on which a question is expected in the mains exam, and we are dealing it in depth. We are going into the details of why, what, so what, how, and all those things which are often asked in the mains exam. We often provide you the value addition content like examples, data, etc. And the same we shall do in today's class also. It's one thing to write an answer that yes, uh, the panchayats are doing good work, but if we give good examples of good work, we are definitely going to fetch more marks than our peers. Okay, so just confirm everyone if our audio and video everything is clear. Those of you who are watching it online, please confirm if audio, video everything is clear, and then we shall start. We have already covered the 9 classes. We have already covered till federalism, federal issues, etc. So in case you have missed any of those classes, you should go back to the Narayana IAS Academy YouTube channel, watch the N100 playlist over there. Okay, good afternoon, Yogesh. So local self-government have got constitutional status through 2 constitutional amendments. You must be knowing. Please tell me, what are those constitutional amendments? 73rd Amendment and 74th Constitution Amendment. Through 73rd Constitution Amendment, PRIs got the constitutional status, whereas through 74th Constitutional Amendment, the urban local bodies got the constitutional status. Okay, and as you might be knowing that these constitutional amendments have provided for certain necessary feature or compulsory feature and certain optional provision for the local bodies. So let's first of all see what were the compulsory provision. If you want, you may tell also what are the compulsory provision which were uniform for all the states in panchayats. For panchayat only you tell that what were those provisions which were compulsory for all the panchayats in all the states. Okay, so the first thing is there has to be a Gram Sabha. Gram Sabha is the body of all the voters in a panchayat, in a village. Okay, there is also a different terms which is not there in the constitution. Constitution only mentions about Gram Sabha, but there is another term Aam Sabha. Aam Sabha is a council of all the adult members in the village. But all the adult members may or may not be registered as a voter in that village. Okay. Next is there has to be a 3-tier system. At the lower level, there is going to be Gram Panchayat. At the district level, there is going to be Zilla Parishad, and there is an intermediate level. This is what constitution says, that there is going to be an intermediate level. Intermediate level is going to be at taluka level or at block level, and it is named differently in different states. Okay, like in my state Bihar, it is called as Panchayat Samiti. In your state, you may tell me what is it called, or before going for the UPSC interview, you must get to know your state, what is the name given to different tiers in your state. Okay, then the members at all the levels, like there are 3-tier system, so at all the levels there are members of the panchayat which are going to be elected members, whereas in case of chairperson, the compulsory provision says that the chairperson at the top 2 level, at these 2 level, are going to be indirectly elected, whereas the chairperson at the panchayat level could be directly or indirectly elected. Okay, so at the panchayat level, at the gram panchayat level, it is an optional provision. where a chairperson at the Jila Parishad level and intermediate level is compulsory provision. Yogesh is saying that even in Maharashtra it is named as Panchayat Samiti only. Good, it's easy. Then for reservation, there is going to be reservation for scheduled caste and scheduled tribe in proportion to their population. Okay, but for women there is 33% reservation. Minimum 33%, one third of the seats shall be reserved for women. Okay. The term of panchayat is going to be 5 years. This is an uniform term of panchayat that has been prescribed for all the panchayats in our country. These are things which may not be asked directly, because now the questions that are being asked in mains is analytical in nature. However, it is very useful for prelims, and one of these features will be the point of attraction of your question, or from these features only you are going to answer the questions which are going to be asked. That's why it is very important that all these features are on your tip. Someone asks the questions, you must be able to jot down 10 features at least, okay, in one go without taking a break. Okay, next, there shall be a state election commission to conduct the elections of local bodies. Okay, so there is a common question which is there in the prelims, that a state election commission conducts the election of a state legislature. That's incorrect. The duty of a state election commission is to conduct election of local bodies, both. To conduct the election of both rural local bodies and urban local bodies, we have common state election commission, and this common state election commission varies from a state to a state. Okay, and before moving further, I would request those of you who are online, please like the video, share it with your friends so that they can also join the live session. They can also ask their doubt and get it clarified. Okay, voting age is uniform, 18 years. Powers and functions, where are they mentioned? The powers and functions of the panchayats. So there is 11th schedule and 12th schedule. In 11th schedule, we have the functions listed for rural local bodies like PRIs. And in 12th schedule, we have functions listed for urban local bodies. Okay, so this has a list of say 29 items are there in 11th schedule and 18 items are there in 12th schedule. Now this is another optional provision, that how many of these items are to be devolved to the panchayats. So it's not necessary that panchayats in every state are going to do the same function. At some places, maybe animal husbandry could be devolved, and in some states, animal husbandry may not be devolved to the panchayats. So it may vary from a state to a state, and as a matter of fact, it's not that none of the states have devolved all the 29 functions. Okay. Then there is going to be a state finance commission. This is something that we have studied in the last class as well. The class where we are discussing the fiscal federalism, not last, but last to last class, that there is going to be a state finance commission. So what union finance commission does for financial resources between union and a state, the same work is done by a state finance commission between a state and panchayats. So like a state have some resources, some taxation power, panchayats have even less taxation powers. So how much of a state finances are going to be devolved to the local bodies, this is going to be decided by a state finance commission. So from this you can understand, see, the purpose of having local bodies is we wanted to have a third tier of governance. The first tier, top tier, is the central government. There is a government at the top. The second tier is going to be the government at the state, and third tier is going to be the government at the local bodies. So at third tier we wanted to have legislative function, executive function, and all different type of the similar thing like finances. We want to give them the financial power, legislative power, and executive power. So they also have got the power, of tax collection. Among these 29 matters which are there, there is also the power for collecting taxes related to these matters which can be devolved. Again, it's uh, the wisdom of the state legislature to decide whether they want it or not. Okay. I hope you have taken note of it. I'm just deleting them. If you want to take a note, you can take this screenshot. Next, all these functions are some of the states or what you say, some of the areas have been exempted from the purview of 73rd Amendment. 73rd Amendment is not applicable in scheduled areas and tribal areas. Okay, scheduled areas are there in Schedule 5, tribal areas are there in Schedule 6. So, in these areas, it is not applicable. So, there was a separate act which is known as Panchayat Extension to Scheduled Area Act PESA. This act was enacted by Parliament to extend the Panchayati Raj institutions to scheduled areas. Okay, the purpose of this act is the purpose of since this 73rd, I mean, this is not exactly the same arrangement which is proposed by 73rd Amendment. This is slightly different than the amendment than the 73rd Amendment. The tribals have been given more reservation, they have been given better representation and power in this PESA. Okay. Then the states like Jammu and Kashmir, Nagaland, Mizoram, Meghalaya, in these states there is exemptions. The 73rd Amendment are not extended. However, after the reason for Jammu and Kashmir was the Article 370, and after revocation of Article 370, a lot of aspect of 73rd Amendment has been extended, but still it is not extended in fully form. Okay, this is the demand of, this is the criticism that is, I mean, if you search the Google, the various articles are being written that it was promised in 2019 that the 73rd Amendment would be extended, but 73rd Amendment was not completely extended till now. Okay. However, like, it's not that the Jammu Kashmir does not have local bodies. They have local bodies, but they have their own arrangement of local bodies. Okay. Like in these states like Nagaland, Mizoram, Meghalaya, these states have their own autonomous regions. There are arrangement made for autonomous regions in these states. That's why we do not have we have not extended 73rd Amendment over there. Next is hilly areas in Manipur for which district council exists. So you can see that since district council is already there through certain separate arrangement is was there. There is also region like where Gorkha council is there. Gorkha district council is there in West Bengal. So in that region also the Jila Parishad would not be there, since at district level we already have Gorkha district council. So Jila Parishad, the institution of Jila Parishad would not be there. This is something which is written in constitution itself. Okay, the articles related to the 73rd Amendment start from article 243. So 243 series of articles, it mentions about this fact. Okay. Any doubt you may ask? Next is, there are certain voluntary provision which is not mandatory for all the states. Some states have implemented it, some have not implemented it, or other they can implement it as per their own choice. Okay. For example, chairperson of village panchayat, as I have told you earlier, that is it voluntary whether it is going to be elected or rather directly elected. It has to be elected, but whether it is going to be directly elected or indirectly elected. Like indirectly elected, there are ward members, so they, among the ward members, they can elect someone as their chairperson. Or directly elected means like people directly are electing the chairperson. Here the chairperson of village panchayat, like in my state Bihar, has decided that they are going to be directly elected. but you must also check in your state what provision have been done by your legislature. Okay. Next is giving representation to MPs, MLAs or MLCs in any of the tier. Okay, like whether MPs should be also be the member of Jila Parishad, because usually in one district there is one member of parliament and there are multiple MLAs. So if they have to be given or not, and if they have to be given, how they have to be given, in what capacity they have to be made member. So these are the provisions which have been left to the state legislature. Next is reservation for OBCs. It has been made optional. For SC, ST, in case of chairpersons, it has been left optional. Okay, like whether there would be reservation for SC and ST or not. You must check for your state before going to UPSC interview. In mains, it may not be useful. Okay, devolution of power. We have discussed that out of the items mentioned in 11th and 12th schedule, which of the items is going to be devolved. It is to be decided by a state legislature only. And then from consolidated fund of a state, how much of grant is to be given to the panchayats, it is also to be decided by the states, obviously on the recommendation of a state finance commission. Okay, or otherwise also, it's not necessary that on the recommendation of state finance commission only funds would be devolved. States can decide to devolve any other grant to the panchayat as well. This is up to their free will. Okay. Now we are going to have some analysis of these provisions. Like, see, one thing the question can be asked is, what has been the impact? Because we now have local bodies for around more than 3 decades. Okay, so now is the time that we decide or we debate what has been their impact. Obviously, we are going to talk about the positive impact that these bodies have had. Okay. First is, obviously it has led to more of a political participation. Many people, many political leaders have come through the panchayats and urban local bodies. The first country, like there have been various instances that some was first councillor, then he became MP or MLA, and then he became ministers, etc. Then next is women representation and marginalized sections substantially increase. Women representation, because see, many states, right, 20 states have given 50% reservation to women. Minimum 33% reservation have been given. We are going to discuss in detail in the next slide what has been the impact of women reservation. That is also another question that can be asked. And marginalized section like SC, STs have also been given reservation in proportion of their population. So it has also had its positive impact on these communities. And like one example you can give, there is a Rohna village in MP which have become pink panchayat. Means that all the members of this panchayat are women. Only 50% is the reservation, but all the members of this panchayat has become are women only. So that's why it is being touted as pink panchayat. Then people's participation has increased in governance also. Like you can give the example of Perumpadapu Panchayat in Kerala, which has done a very good work in conservation of water bodies. Then you can talk about efficient service delivery. You can take example of any of the services, like in various states, like PDS has been PDS responsibility have been given to the panchayats, and they are doing wonderful job. I am writing an example of Hirapur Gram Panchayat in Madhya Pradesh. It has adopted certain very innovative waste management practices. So various like Swachh Bharat Abhiyan, behind the success of Swachh Bharat Abhiyan, like India is 100% open defecation free currently, at least in the government records. So behind this record also, we have the contribution of local bodies. Local bodies have effectively implemented the Swachh Bharat mission. You can write that as well. Swachh Bharat mission, 100% open defecation free. Then these have also brought about equity. Various like social works have been, social welfare schemes have also been done. Like Thiruvananthapuram, this municipal council is touted for very good work in public health, education and social welfare. Then there are, it is also promoting accountability and transparency in governance. So like these are the element of good governance. If a question comes on good governance, then you can say they have increased accountability and transparency. How they have introduced accountability? Through Gram Sabha and the mechanism of social audit. What is social audit? Social audit is when various stakeholders, they come together and do the auditing of the outcome of a program, whether the program has been able to achieve the desired outcome or not. So when the society is doing the audit, it is called social audit. Then responsive governance system like MG Narega. This is like in MG Narega, whenever work has to be allotted, work is decided by panchayat. And what panchayat does? Panchayat decides work as and when a demand is made by the people. So whenever people are out of job, they go to the panchayat office, they ask for it. So it's a kind of responsive governance. Then economic development, you can take the example of Ahmedabad. So see, we are talking about the impact of local bodies. So we have to give example from rural local bodies as well as urban local bodies. So like Ahmedabad Municipal Corporation have started bus rapid transit system, pedestrian friendly zones. So these are various, you can write it as an example of infrastructure as well, that various different infrastructure development or urban development, urban infrastructure development have been done, and invariably infrastructure will lead to good economic development. They are symbiotically linked. Then community empowerment, you can have the example of Bhubaneswar Municipal Corporation, which has done remarkably good job for disaster preparedness. And that's why you see that nowadays when any cyclone comes, irrespective of its intensity, the city of Bhubaneswar is not much hampered. There is very little loss of life and property as compared to what used to happen 20 years ago. And this, a lot of commendable work has been done by the municipal corporation. It involves people also. Municipal corporation has not done something in thin air. It has involved people as well. Okay, so these are the various dimensions in which you can write answers if any question is asked about impact. Important point here is that examples are must. If you are only talking about, see, there has been participation, there is service delivery, there is improvement in infrastructure, that is not going to get you exceptional marks. You will get average marks. So these examples, you must create a repository of examples and you must memorize them. This is a must. Okay. If you have any doubt about this, you may ask. Otherwise, we shall move to the next aspect. If everything is clear, you may reply, all clear, sir. Has any one of you taken part in your panchayat elections, etc.? No. You must go and take part in your panchayat election as well. In panchayat election, there is another benefit also. For voting, you get money. In like MPs and MLAs election, very few people get money. But in local bodies election, almost everyone gets money. So there is more distribution of money, liquor, etc. in case of panchayat selection. This is not a good thing. I am just telling it on lighter note. Do not write it in the exam. But in panchayat election, we will get money. Should I move ahead? Okay. So now we shall look at the impact of women reservation. Women reservation has also been there since the beginning of 73rd and 74th Amendment. There is minimum 33% women reservation, but it is not in proportion to the population of women. The population of women is approximately 50% of the total population. So that's why a lot many states have increased the share of women in women reservation, and as a result, on an India average level, 44% of total representative are women. 44% of total representative in these local bodies are women. So their representation is definitely slightly more than the minimum reservation which is there. Not, it is not 33%, but definitely, I mean, it is moving very close to the 50%, which is the ideal scenario. And ideally, women and men reservations should be equal in proportion of their population. So we are moving very close to that. In fact, a total of 101.4 million women have been elected as representative in local bodies. 1.4 million women elected. Huge number. 1.4 million means 14 lakhs. 14 lakhs women have become leaders. So this is the first and the biggest contribution that we can talk about of the women reservation. It has created around 1.4 million leaders, women among women. Okay. Then we have this data. 20 states have 50% reservation, have given 50% reservation to women, more than the 33% requirement. And you can also link it to the political aspect, that this is probably has played a good role in ensuring that there is women reservation in parliament as well. Now we have women reservation in parliament, or don't we? And a state legislature. It is not only the parliament, but also in a state legislative assembly. Yes, not yet, but since we have done the constitutional amendment, definitely it is going to come one day. One day. That one day is in which year, we are not very sure. But definitely, since the constitution has been amended, we are going to witness women reservation. Okay. As of now, what is the representation of women in this 18th Lok Sabha? Do you know? It is around 14% only. So as of now, only 14% women are there. Now we hope that someday, when reservation is implemented, at least 33% women would be there. There should be ideally more than 33%, because on some seats, even without reservation, women should win. Then it has definitely led to political empowerment of women. Because, I mean, obviously, since they are getting elected, they are being politically empowered. They are raising their voices in political arena, and it has also been witnessed that there is less corruption in the panchayats. Yeah, I will come to that. In the criticism or challenges part, we will also write the phenomena of panchayat pati as well. Okay, and I will discuss it with you as well. What is the reason? Keep thinking how we can do away with this phenomena of panchayat pati. Now it has been there was a research by American Economic Journal, or there is a research paper published in American Economic Journal, which says that the instances of corruption are less in the panchayat where panchayat having women representative. Please write it. There is a research published in American Economic Journal that says that the instances of corruption are less in panchayats having women representative. See, there is one way of saying that there is less corruption. Another way, when you say that there is a research paper in a particular journal, your answer will definitely get more marks. Okay. In fact, it has also been witnessed that where women are representative, there has been more investment in health, education, drinking water, like these are the social issues. Okay. And this is econometrica study. A study done by econometrica have found that wherever there are women representative, there is more investment in health, education and drinking water. In fact, in general, this study says that the woman needs like safety, security, public lighting, they have been given more attention wherever there are women representative. Even like domestic violence instances, they have found that there is a positive correlation in or rather inverse correlation between instances of domestic violence and panchayats having women representative. Because when panchayats have women representative, women have come forward. They have more forcibly raised their voice. Women feel comfortable going to a gram panchayat or going to a pradhan who is woman. Okay, rather than going to a panchayat uh, pradhan who is not a woman, who is man. Okay, so that's why these are the observations that have been found in this particular studies, like prompt action on domestic violence and child marriages. So the instances of domestic, it is not saying, see, all these studies are giving a comparative picture. So here and there, do not say that since there are instances of domestic violence there where the panchayat pradhan was woman, it is not that women are going to eliminate such social evils, but comparatively it has been witnessed that there is some improvement. So the improvement or the outcome is beyond only political arena. There are social development also which are happening because of women reservation. Okay, and obviously it will boost their self confidence. So naturally it is a tool in the direction of women empowerment. It will allow women to join the workforce. It will allow women to demand women centric policies. When they are self confident, then they will demand women centric policies. If you are not confident, you will do what you have been told. When you are confident, you will say that yes, this is what I want. And these women representative have also acted as a role model for other women. These are obvious points which are there that I have written. The more important points are these data that I have given, these studies. These are the points that you must write. Other points that I have given, which are like obviously analytical in nature, even if you forget one or two points, it will not matter. But at least these 5 points, the solid point you must write. Is it clear? Is there any doubt? Achha, this study regarding domestic violence is done by Center for Catalyzing Change. Now we shall come to that part which Yogesh has just raised, is that is it giving rise, since we are having women reservation, we are witnessing a phenomena of panchayat pati as well. Okay, so we shall handle that as well. What are the challenges for elected women representative? EWR is elected women representative. What are the challenges that they are facing? And you know, when I had appeared in the UPS interview for the first time in 2014, uh, yeah, I mean actually it was 2015, and the civil service exam was there in 2014. So then this was the second question that was asked to me. Kilim Sungla ma'am was the chairman, and she has asked me this question that what is uh, what is the reservation of women in your state, Bihar? I knew it. I have prepared for it. It was 50%. And then she asked that what is the concept of Panchayat Pati? And see, this concept of Panchayat Pati have become popular after Prime Minister Narendra Modi once talked about it on Independence Day. And then he has further talked about it in various one of his Man Ki Baat as well. But at that point of time in 2015, this term was not very popular, but incidentally, I had studied about it. So I gave the answer that there is a phenomena when the actual leadership or actual work is done by the husband of the woman representative in the areas where seats are reserved for women. So it is not the woman per se who is doing the work, but rather her husband who is actually acting as the pradhan or the sarpanch or mukhya. In our area it is called mukhya. So in other different regions there are different names. Okay. Then she asked that is it also prevalent in your state, Bihar? I said yes. I have. I also recounted one of my instances that, like in the interview preparation phase, I had gone to my village and I had a discussion with the mukhia of my village. And incidentally, at that point of time, my village was having women reservation. So because of the reservation, there was women uh, mukhia in my village. So I had gone to have a discussion about the village. I wanted to prepare about the issues, etc., which are there. So when I had gone, I could not meet her. Rather, I met the husband of her as well, her only. So I recounted, I recollected this instance in front of the board. She was very happy with this, and then she asked, "What? How are you going to, or what do you propose to address this challenge so that there is no panchayat party?" So now, if you are asked this question in an interview board, what are going to be your answer? You keep thinking, but before that, we will discuss about other challenges for elected women representative. I just recounted this incidents, this interview, so that you are aware what kind of questions are asked. The questions that we often see in the reels or on the social media together. What was the number of your train ticket that you have used to reach Delhi? These kind of questions are not asked. The practical questions are more often asked in an UPSC interview. So the first challenge is there is rotation of seats every 5 years. The seats which are reserved for the women, if election happened in 2019, if a particular seat says A was reserved, next year B would be reserved. And suppose there is only 33% reservation, so probably next year C would be reserved. And after that, next maybe after 10 years, A would again be reserved. Even if there is 50% reservation, it is up every alternate year the seat would change, it would not be reserved. This, like, what happens that for the 5 year you are pradhan, you are somewhere active, but after 5 year, since the seat is not reserved, the chances are that certain male candidate or even your own husband is going to contest the election. In this way, the woman goes back to home. The woman goes back to home. That's the challenge, because obviously her leadership, her skills that were in the phase of development, all those development will come to a standstill. Then usually, since there are reservation of the seats, women leader are not given the opportunity to contest. It is like common feeling that these are the seats reserved for you, you should contest from there only. And there is also a digital divide between male elected representative and women elected representative. Okay. So there was a survey conducted in which it was found that only 63% elected women representative had owned mobile phone. This is about panchayat only. So sitting in our urban comfort zone, we get the feeling that everyone must be having a smartphone, etc. But that's not the reality. Only 63% of elected women participant owned phone, and among them only 24% had a smartphone. So there is definitely a digital divide between male representative. So suppose there is a male representative in a particular area, the chances are that he would be more efficient because he is well versed with a smartphone. All the different schemes of the government, accountability mechanism, they are driven through smartphones. There is geotagging and all that thing which is happening. No, nothing of that kind can be done by a woman representative who is not having a smartphone. There is also an issue of low digital literacy and low financial literacy. See, ultimately, what you have to do a lot of things related to money, use money to build certain infrastructure. So, some amount of financial understanding related to money, etc., is necessary for effectively doing the work. But since there is lack of literacy itself among the women, and the same is reflected in the women representative as well, their ability to work is hampered. Then the knowledge about the political institutions and rules, etc., even bureaucracy, the rules of bureaucracy, laws, etc., is very much less. So the bureaucrats also play with them. They will give one excuse or another. They will say that rules does not allow. Suppose if a woman representative comes up with an idea among MG Nareka that we should build this kind of infrastructure rather than doing this, they will simply say, "Sir, madam, it is not allowed by the rules. The guidelines are saying something else." So there is information asymmetry as well among the women representative. And then some states like Haryana have come up with minimum education requirement, and often women representative or like the women leaders of the region, they lack the minimum education, so they become disqualified. Haryana and also Rajasthan have done it. So because of this reason, they get disqualified. Then there is patriarchal attitude of officials also. Officials also feel, I mean, it has also been found in some of their studies that when a male representative issues a command to the bureaucrats, there are more chances to accept that command and implement it as compared to women representative. They tend to ignore the instructions of the women representative. This is the patriarchal challenge which is being faced by the women representative. And then the last one is the dear one, the phenomena of panchayat pati, whereby women do not get to do the actual leadership work. They do not actually do the functions which are required to be done by the leaders of the panchayat. Okay, they need to maintain balance between the work and household as well. They need to have this balance, and this is very often difficult to maintain. So see, like when a male is doing some outside work, when a male is pradhan, he will only be engaged in that outside work. He will only be acting as a pradhan, whatever is responsibility. There would be his wife to support him in the domestic household chores, etc. But when a woman is there elected as a pradhan, she has to look after her family as well. She has to look after her household chores as well. That is, there is no one else. It's not that her husband will start taking care of that. If it happens, it is still a rarity. Most of the cases, it does not happen. Okay. Yes, there is a double burden on women representative. Now, you tell me, what are your suggestions? How we can improve the, or how can reduce the challenges of elected women representative, and more importantly, how we are going to tackle this phenomena of panchayat pati, so that, I mean, if the phenomena of panchayat pati is tackled, then 44% of elected representative are women. So definitely these women representatives are going to be more empowered. All our goals which are there for having women reservation would be achieved. So you please tell me, at least one or two suggestions must come from you. What is the way forward? Awareness, very good. We must spread awareness. Awareness among whom? Who should be made aware and about what? This is a good point, awareness. What? Awareness to whom? So the first of all, awareness should be among bureaucracy. Because this is something which is directly in the government control. These are the learned people. Okay. So they should be made aware of their prejudices against women. We have seen that the women elected representative, they face resistance from bureaucracy. There is patriarchal attitude. So first of all, that should give. The second, like, have you seen that web series Panchayat on Prime Video? It is in Hindi. So in that, yes, so Yogesh has seen it. In that, what the district magistrate does, she does a very good thing, that she, when she calls and her husband picks up phone, she directly says that I want to talk to the Pradhan, woman Pradhan of that Panchayat. She doesn't want to talk to the Pradhan Pati. So that is something which is required to be done by all the bureaucrats. Bureaucrats should only entertain the actual, should entertain or engage the elected woman representative. See, she might not understand the nuances, legality, etc. in the beginning, but then ultimately every year they have to implement the same program. The same MG Narega has to be implemented. Same Swachh Bharat mission has to be implemented. There is going to be changes here and there. Sporadic changes only happens. It's not that there is going to be wholesale new thing. And if new thing comes, the women have the equal chance of understanding on par with men. So definitely they are going to understand how the bureaucracy work, how the political institutions work, how the schemes work. So bureaucrat should invest in engaging with, or rather should insist on engaging with only the elected representative in the meetings, etc. Their husbands should not be allowed. And then obviously the women have to be themselves made aware. Okay, so we will not call it awareness, we will call it capacity building. Capacity building of elected women representative. So as soon as election is conducted, after election, like regarding rules, regulations, the way they have to talk, the way various aspect of leadership, etc. Also, we can have 1 month training of all the elected representatives. I mean, the duration, etc. do not write in your answers, but there should be training on regarding various aspect which is required, like leadership, like digital tools, like financial literacy. So on these aspects which are required regarding the functioning of bureaucracy, about schemes, etc., they should be given training. Okay, then only they can act as an effective leader, then only they can ensure accountability and bureaucracy. This is the biggest function of the elected representative. They do not have to actually do the work, they actually have to keep an eye on the bureaucrats, whether the bureaucrats are doing as per the requirement of the people or not. Okay, so for that work they have to just understand how things are working. They do not have to actually do the mathematics. Actual orders are always passed by bureaucrats. Okay, and then the last thing, another suggestion that you can give is that do not change the seat every 5 years. every election. So it has been invariably seen that when the same person is elected twice or thrice, she become more assertive. She become more aware of her powers, her position, etc. So when you are changing the seat, changing the reserved seat every 5 years, she has to go back to the house. So if we should allow, and like this is the good thing that has happened. I don't know intentionally or unintentionally, but this is something that has happened in Parliament reservation. In Parliament reservation, the seat will change only after the next delimitation. Usually delimitation will happen only after next census. So minimum 10 years. So minimum 2 tenure would be there for which the same seat would be reserved. And in case like delimitation is delayed, there could be like 3 or 4 tenure as well. So these are the suggestions that you can give with respect to women reservation. Okay, is it clear? If you have any doubt, you must ask. We can have a healthy discussion about this topic. If you have any other thing to say, you can say. Good. Next, we shall be discussing the other issues associated with local governance in India. So, one is the issues which are there with the elected women representative. That is the issue that we have already discussed. Now, we are going to discuss the other. So, that issue is also an issue that you can write. But there are other issues also which we call as 3F problem of panchayats. The problem of 3F is fund, function and functionary. Okay. What is the problem of fund? Fund is that they do not have their own money. I will give you data etc. also that what is the problem with respect to fund that are there. I mean, it is there with the both the bodies, whether it is rural local body or urban local bodies. For both of them, we have this same problem that they do not have money, and you cannot do anything if you do not have money. Suppose like okay, now 4F. Chalo, I will write it as 4F functionality. Can you tell me what this functionality is? By the time I discuss the first three, please mention in comment section what is this problem of functionality. Second is function. Function is that the function that they are have to perform is to be performed by various other institutions as well. So there is no accountability mechanism that who has to perform this function. For example, in Delhi, there was one institute which was flooded. So normally, if the flooding was there, I mean, this is the phenomenon of urban flooding. It is definitely because of the failure of Delhi Municipal Corporation, which has not been able to clear the drains in time. Okay, but unfortunately, Delhi Municipal Corporation is able to shift the buck to the Delhi government. The Delhi government is not doing something. Delhi government is shifting it to the LG. LG is shifting to Delhi government, and so on is happening. Then functionary is that obviously there will be various bureaucrats who will be functioning in any local bodies. So whether those functionaries are in the control of the local body or not. Because see, those who are working in the central government, when you become IAS, uh, the central government will have complete control. If you are IRS, central government can recruit you, take disciplinary action, dismiss you from the service. Same is there with the state government. A state government, I mean, obviously this is the fight between state government and central government with respect to all India services, that we do not have control over these officers. But for other services which are working under the state government, they are completely under their control. And similarly, but the similar is not the situation for urban local bodies. In their case, they do not have control over their functionaries. We will discuss it in detail. And then the functionality is the last problem. Functionality is now it is being asked about your outcome. Whatever be the source of money, whether you are having your own money or you are getting money from the center or the state government, whether the functionary are yours or not, you have functionary, you have fund, you have been devolved certain functions, whether you are doing it with efficiency or not. So your guess is right. Whether you are efficient or not, that is the functionality which is being asked now. Okay. So if you make it this kind of a structure with respect to a problem, this is definitely going to be a good answer. Okay. The first is the problem that I have written here is inadequate devolution of power. This is about function. Okay. For example, NGO Praja Foundation takes away this urban governance index. Okay. And as per the 2022 index, no state has devolved all 18 functional items. There is no state whose legislation on urban local body devolves all the 18 functions. Okay, so you have to mention about urban governance index by Praja Foundation. Okay. Next is the problem of fund. The problem is that most of the funds, they do not have their own fund. Own source of revenue is very much. The first that you will write is that they are dependent on fund transfer from center and state. In fact, if we talk about the panchayats, less than 1% of their total revenue is from own sources. This is the status of PRIs. This is an all India average. Usually, I mean, in fact, this is a report by RBI that says this. No, this is a report by CAG, sorry. CAG has presented this report that on an all India average, less than 1% of total revenue is from own sources in case of panchayat. Whereas in case of urban local body, the picture is slightly better, but still the better picture is only at around 14%. Approximately 40% of own revenue is from own sources in case of urban local bodies. So you can see how much is their dependence on center and state devolution. Okay, in case of panchayat it is around 95%. In case of urban local body it is around 80% or more than 70% of the funds that are coming. I mean, these urban local bodies are also taking a lot of debt, etc. They are able to issue municipal bonds. Okay, so out of the total revenue, a lot of revenue from the urban local body it is around 60%. Rural local body it is around 85 to 90%, which are coming from the funds from center and state only. Any data, if you write that own sources is less, that is sufficient. And obviously, if fund is coming from center and state, the center is going to look into it, how we are going to use it, for what purpose, and all those things. So that is called tied nature of fund, that you can only use this fund for Swachh Bharat Abhiyan. And suppose a panchayat have got fund, a panchayat is there in the Kerala where there is already which is already open defecation free, the sewage etc. everything is all good, everyone is getting drinking water. Probably that panchayat does not need fund for Swachh Bharat Abhiyan. Probably the problem of that panchayat could be something different. Maybe they need fund for employment generation. Maybe they need fund for electricity etc. Okay, so this untied fund is a problem. The panchayat are not able to plan as per their own requirement because fund is tied to a particular thing. So this hinders decentralized planning. Okay. And in case of municipal corporation bodies, their major source is property tax. And even this property tax is not properly collected and revised. We have seen that Union Finance Commission has also said that in fact, Union Finance Commission, 15th Finance Commission have linked the performance grant to the urban local bodies reforms, and this was the reform that the Finance Commission wanted, that the minimum floor rate must be revised and declared by the state government. So state government is not even declaring the minimum floor rate. Okay, And you can say that in India, the property tax collection is 0.2% of GDP, whereas the average of OECD countries is 1.1%. When you write the comparative data, it gives the clear picture. In our case, the property tax collection is only 0.2% of GDP, whereas the average of OECD countries is 1.1%. And see, means you can yourself answer as well. Those of you who are online, please answer me. Whether you are aware that you or your families, whoever is owning property, they have paid any property tax? Most of us do not pay property tax, even though we have property. This is a phenomenon. Income tax, most of us must have paid. We file income tax return regularly. Property tax, we do not pay. Okay. In fact, the revenue of municipal corporations is less than 1% of GDP. It is not probably 0.2% of GDP. Please remind me in the next class. I will confirm if it is 0.2% of GDP or 0.2% of total revenue. It is 0.2% of total revenue. I will confirm it in the next class. But as far as I can recall it, it is not GDP. And average of OECD is 1.1%. This is the number which is for GDP. Like revenue of municipal corporations is less than 1% of GDP. Whereas even in Brazil it is 7%, in South Africa it is 6%. So when you are comparing it with the other middle income economy like Brazil and South Africa, they are also BRICS countries or middle income economy. Their municipal corporations are also able to generate more revenue. We are not even comparing with OECDs. Okay, and this is about income, the finances. But even expenditure, the quality of expenditure is also not good. Because in terms of expenditure, 70% of funds are spent on recurring expenditure, which we are calling it revenue expenditure, like the salaries, etc. Okay, only 30% is towards capital expenditure, where an asset is being created. Some kind of asset creation is happening. And why it happens? There is also the diversion of funds. There is also instances of corruption, etc., which happens. Have you noted down all the data, etc.? Then please let me know. This will move towards the other problem. If you have any confusion about it, because a lot of data and lot many points are written, you may ask. Next issue is the issue of irregular election also. Because if election is not conducted every year, there is definitely going to be an issue. If we do not have representative, if the term is complete, who will govern? Who will have the authority? No one will have. UFC is Union Finance Commission. Regular constitution of, it has made that there should be regular constitution of local bodies to get forms. Only you will get only local area grant if you constitute the local bodies. If local bodies are less in number, less number of local bodies are constituted, the grant would be less. Then SFC, State Finance Commission, is not constituted regularly. This is also something that we have seen. The 15th Finance Commission has also noted it, that if you do not constitute it, then you will not. You can also write the example of PIL filed in Andhra High Court to constitute the 5th Finance Commission. Andhra Pradesh was not constituting the Finance Commission. So people have to file the PIL for that purpose. Okay, and even if it is constituted, they do not have the accurate and updated data. So whatever the recommendation or advice that these finance commissions are giving, they are invariably on the outdated data. Okay, then there is presence of parallel structure. This is another problem of function. What is the parallel structure? These are called parastatal bodies. So there are various, whatever be the functions that are assigned to the local bodies, they are not explicitly or exclusively, not explicitly, rather not exclusively in the domain of those local bodies. Usually, like for example, if we take the example of Delhi, like water and sanitation is the function which should be there with the Delhi Municipal Corporation. But there is also an organization called Delhi Jal Board, which has the responsibility of providing drinking water to every household. So now if you do not get water, to whom to question? And even like central government have the schemes related to drinking water, Jal Jeevan Mission. So if someone is not getting drinking water, is not very sure whether central government is failing, whether municipal corporation is failing, whether Delhi government is failing. And similar is the issues with a lot many organizations like water board, housing boards, housing, water. These are the issues which are there in the domain of local bodies, but we invariably see municipal corporations engaged in them. Like Haryana Rural Development Agency is there, who is also doing the rural development. Then you have panchayats also. So they keep on fighting, and in case of accountability, you cannot fix the accountability. Okay. The problem is we can't fix the accountability. Is it clear? Then this issue of Sarpanch Pati we have already seen. Then there is also like schemes like MLA and MP LED program. They are also dealing with the same function that are being done by the local bodies. So this is also diffusing the accountability or diffusing the responsibility of panchayat. Not related to panchayats, but there is another problem or theoretical problem with this MP MLA scheme. Since it is related to polity, I will tell you that these schemes, they also violate the separation of power. Like in as per the separation of power, these are MPs and MLAs. They are legislature, so their function should be to legislate, law making. The implementation of a scheme is a executive function. So when these MPs and MLAs are executing or responsible for MPs MLA fund, they are basically doing executive function, which is violating the separation of power principle as well. Then we have district planning committee and metropolitan planning committee, and these committees like France commission is there. France commission is also not constituted, so is with these committees, they are also not constituted regularly. Then this is the problem of functionary. First is there is lack of staffing, and even when the staff is there, that staff does not report to the local bodies, the elected representative. The elected representative, bureaucratic resistance towards elected representative. Like in case of IAS officers, they do not dare to counter anything against Prime Minister. But whoever is the officer posted in the local bodies, they will very often counter, argue, discuss, debate, or simply do not obey the orders given by the elected representative. See, when you are bureaucrat, you will like it. That yes, we will have power. How come a uh, illiterate panch, pradhan, etc. can come and dictate to me? But see, from the political science perspective, in a democracy, there should be primacy of those elected representatives. Whether your position is bureaucrat, you have to act as per the instruction of elected representative. Their duty is to decide about the policies. Your duty is to decide about implementation. Wrong is that when you are being forced to do something illegal, when you are forced to do collusion, etc. But when you are instructed to implement a policy as per the desire of the people, as per the desire of the elected representative, there is nothing wrong in that. I hope it is clear. In case of corruption, you can have the data of CAG audit. CAG has given the data that no utilization certificate. This is utilization certificate. So no utilization certificate was submitted for 70,000 crore. This much amount of money was spent by the local bodies and they did not submit any utilization certificate. So whenever any work is done, any money is spent, for what purpose it was spent, a utilization certificate is issued by the panchayat. So they did not, they have spent this much money. There are very high chances that since no certificate was, even if certificate is submitted, there are chances that there was corruption. But if even certificate was not submitted, there are very high chances that this much money was embezzled. And we are quoting this CAG report. We are not simply saying in the thin air. So these are the problems that we have discussed. We have to also discuss about the way forward. Way forward would also be in the same direction as the problems. Okay. Like first we will say that there is a very good practice in Tamil Nadu. Tamil Nadu has said that whatever be the house tax collected by a municipal corporation, the similar matching grant would be given by the Tamil Nadu state government. So now there is an incentive like to generate your own revenue. So this is the trend which is going on. The Union Finance Commission have also given 2.5% weightage to tax effort. So if a state government is collecting more taxes, it will get more money from the center also. So similarly, looking at the same direction, Tamil Nadu government has also said that in case you collect certain house tax, whatever be your tax collection, the matching grant would be given to you by the state government. And obviously, this grant is going to be untied fund. So since it is going to be untied, the local bodies will have discretion in using this grant. Then the 15th Finance Commission have recommended that 50% of the grant of urban local bodies and 60% of the grant of rural local bodies should be untied grant. They should not be tied to any function which has to be performed. There should be more devolution of power. The example you can write Bruhat Bengaluru Mahanagarpalika Act 2020. This act is touted as a good act which has devolved more number of functions to the local bodies. And there should be activity mapping. Activity mapping is when you map a particular activity to a particular organization. Like drinking water, we have municipal corporation. Say sanitation, we have municipal corporation. For agriculture, we have a state government. For the same function, two organizations should not be responsible. This activity mapping should be done, and in this, civic amenities like drinking water, electricity, etc., they should be the domain of municipality only. And this is the recommendation of an expert committee on urban infrastructure 2011. So, like when you are writing a recommendation, also if you write that which committee has given this recommendation, there are slightly better impression. Okay. And there should be performance linked devolution of funds. 15th Finance Commission we have already discussed it. That 15th Finance Commission has talked about urban local body reforms. If you bring about this reform, you will get this fund. Otherwise, you will not get the fund. And in case of the state, this is about a state finance commission. So in case of a state finance commission report, there has to be an action taken report should be mandatorily presented to the finance commission as well as on the legislature. Okay, so that's all that we had. If you have any doubt, you may ask or please mention all clear. Next, we are going to discuss about the idea that whether the rural and urban local bodies should be merged. So what do you have to say? Whether we should merge the rural and urban local bodies? Next is the proposal. There is an idea that we should merge the rural and urban is left here. Rural and urban local bodies. Last point. ATR is action taken report. So when a state finance commission, like we have seen a problem that a state finance commission's report are not implemented. So we are saying that whatever be the report, on its report, the state government must present an action taken report in the state legislature. What have they done? What action have they done based on the recommendation of a state finance commission? Okay. Next is this idea that we should merge the urban local bodies and rural local bodies. Okay. So basically, in this idea, there is 2 points. The first is that whether we should have one single local bodies. We should not have a separate rural local body and urban local bodies. And there is another thing is that, see, whatever be the urban center, if suppose this is any urban area, let's take the example, since this news is from Chennai, Tamil Nadu, we take the example of Chennai. This might be the domain of Chennai Municipal Corporation. This is going to be the region which will have some form of urban character. And maybe after 10 years, probably 10 year or 20 year, definitely this urban area is going to expand, and probably all this would be fit to be included as the urban area. So they should be probably brought into, or rather the local bodies, rural local bodies in this region should be probably merged with the urban local bodies. Whatever be the rural local bodies which are there in this vicinity of the urban areas, they should be probably merged with the urban local bodies, because now these area, like every urban area is expanding. So the nearby region have to be merged in the nearby urban bodies. So yes, Yogesh, this is what I am saying, that this is the two different level of idea. One idea is that we should merge the rural and urban local bodies in total, because everywhere we have urban pockets. So the rural local bodies around that urban area should be merged. And the second thing is that we should only merge the urban local, the rural areas in the vicinity of the urban areas. Okay, so around every metro city or any big large cities, its impact of the city is felt in a large rural area nearby as well. So we should merge those rural local bodies into the nearby urban local bodies. Okay, a question this year has been asked and it is not very clear. The question is talking about which of the two ideas. So we shall presume that both of these ideas are there, and the question is asking for pros and cons of these ideas. And see, suppose as and when there is more of urbanization, because it is expected that by 2050, 50% of India's population is going to be in urban areas. Naturally, in the rest of the 50% also, there is impact of urbanization in around 5 to 10% of the region. So this question become more relevant in the states which are more urbanized, like Tamil Nadu. The states which are very less urbanized like Himachal Pradesh, Bihar, etc., where still around 90% population is living in rural areas, probably this will not make sense. The idea is not relevant or applicable over there. The idea is more relevant for the states which are highly urbanized like Tamil Nadu, Goa, etc. So now we shall discuss the pros and cons of this idea. The pros are very simple. The first is there is going to be economy of a scale. Whatever goods and services that are being provided, that are to be provided by the local bodies, if we merge it, the scale is large, there is going to be less procurement cost, less distribution cost, etc. I hope you understand what is economies of a scale. If not, please raise your hand. I will tell it. Then there is going to be integrated planning. There is going to be holistic planning. And the peripheral villages which are in the vicinity of any urban areas, they will benefit more. They will get the urban amenities. And also it is said that these peripheral villages are already probably generating a lot of revenue. They have developed the high, they have high revenue potential. High revenue. See, this is the difference between urban areas and rural areas, because in rural areas there is very low revenue generation potential, as we have seen that even the urban bodies, they are relatively, I am not saying that they are very good in this, but relatively generating more money from their own sources, whereas panchayats are only generating 1%, at least they are generating 14%. So there is high revenue generation potential in urban areas which is lost because they are not included in urban bodies. So that revenue would be generated if these peripheral villages are also included in urban local bodies. Then there would be planned and systematic urbanization. See, what currently happens, that the area which is not categorized as an urban area, there is haphazard urbanization. There is unplanned urbanization in urban outgrowth, and only when it comes, it is part of the urban area, then the government wakes up, and by that time there is a lot of irregular construction has already taken place. So if you have a long term vision, because you know that, see, after 15 year 20 year down the line, these areas are going to be urban area, you can have better and systemic planning. It will also address the rural urban migration issue, because why migration happens in the search of employments, etc. So if we bring about those urban facilities to the rural areas, the chances of migration would be less, and even if migration happens, there would be regulated migration, because both rural areas and urban areas are being governed by the same bodies. It can regulate that where should migrant live, where should the adequate infrastructure, housing, drinking water facilities should be created, because invariably the migrants tend to settle in the outskirt of any city, and in the outskirt where migrants are sitting, that like those areas develop as a slum area, etc. Yeah, policy implementation would be well easy. The slum development in outskirt of the city, there is invariably development of slums. This can be reduced. This can be regulated or managed. And this point we have discussed, it will provide urban amenity in rural areas. So especially those villages which are saying that now we have got the urban amenities, they have this feeling that sorry, whose like real estate prices, etc., have increased. They have an expectation that now we should get those urban amenities. Why should our states not be having all weather road? So those can be facilitated if we have a common local body. Reduce fiscal burden of government. Yeah, that point also you can write, but it is not completely true. I mean, this is a corollary of this point, probably what you are saying, where I have said that there is high revenue generation. So if more revenue is generated, then probably there would be less burden on government also. But see, this is the problem also. See, ultimately, whatever is the revenue of government is the expenditure of people. If we are saying that government is collecting more taxes, ultimately from where government is collecting taxes? From people. So people are not going to be happy. I mean, see, we Indians want things. We love to get things, but we do not love to give away things. Okay. There is no need for separate election to be conducted. Not a very much valid point, Yogesh, because see, currently also there is either election of rural body or urban body. So election is usually happening simultaneously only. It's not that we are having two different times. See, even in this area, like the example I have just given, this is urban area, these are the rural area. So the same day we are having election here also, probably here also only once. Even if both are being called one local body, then also we will have same day election. So not much of expenditure would reduce in this case. Even if there is a reduction in indirect election, maybe that see at different tier there is indirect election, that is not significant cost. Yeah, so now I was talking about that point that we Indians do not love to spend money, give away money. So people are not very happy that whenever their areas are merged with the uh, adjacent urban areas, there have been witnessed resistance from the people. People say that do not merge our region. Okay, so what are the cons? Cons is, yeah, usually in most of the states they happen simultaneously. They have been made co-terminus. In most of this, obviously it is to be decided by a state election commission. It may vary in some states, but in most of the states they try to link it together. It may not happen together always. Okay, so I'm not saying that it will happen always, especially in the large municipal corporations. It tends to deviate from the schedule, but otherwise, like all the rural local bodies, there is simultaneous election. Okay. Hmm. Even if they happen at a different time, I don't think there is much uh, cost saving in there, because in any way, every 5 year you are going to have only one election, unlike like central election and state election, where if they are not merged, they will happen differently, because rural areas and urban areas, they are not overlapping areas, unlike in center and state. So it is not always true that urban local bodies and rural local bodies election are happening simultaneously. Sometimes it happens, but even if they do not happen simultaneously, it is not going to impact the cost much. Now let's come back to the cons. See, first problem is that the challenges faced by the rural areas are quite different from the challenges faced by urban areas. It is not that the challenges of urban areas are same as that of rural areas. So because of that, having a same body may lead to one size fits all approach. One size fits all approach means usually we will have the same scheme, same priority for both rural areas and urban areas. So if there is a heterogeneity in that any local body which is dealing with different set of problems, there is going to be challenges. There could be Uh, why? Because invariably, whenever you have a combined body, there is going to be dominance of urban leaders, and this dominance will show in policies as well, because since urban leaders are dominant, it would be visible in policies. At the same time, it would be visible in fund allocation also. See, wherever the chairman will invariably be more dominant. It has always seen that the constituency of chairman, or the constituency of chief minister or the prime minister, it gets disproportionate attention. So the same will happen in case of urban area. The ward from which the chairman will belong or the mayor will belong, it will definitely get more attention. So urban leaders will get more attention, and this will also create a feeling of loss of political power among rural people, rural leaders. And this is the most prominent reason because of which there is political resistance. In fact, when in Ahmedabad, the nearby region were proposed to be merged in Ahmedabad, there were 4 villages which even went to the Gujarat High Court. So villagers are doing everything in their hand possible to oppose this merging. So there is always political resistance because these political leaders which are there, like see, in a panchayat when you go, the same person who is a pradhan, he holds a very important position in the panchayat. He is like one person, number one. But the councillors in a ward, in an urban area, do not hold the same political prestige. There are so many counselors in a small pockets, and then whatever they have to do, they have to get it done in the counselors meeting where there are 50s of counselors. So the position which is enjoyed by pradhans etc. in panchayat is always lost when they are merged in urban areas. Okay, and often it will lead to centralization. As soon as there is large urban areas, there is going to be centralization. So this is against the idea of decentralization. Why we are having local bodies? Because we wanted decentralization. Since we wanted decentralization, the centralization is not in tune. Okay, there is inefficient service delivery, that is also possible. And then another fear is there would be rise in taxes for the rural people, because see, urban areas they are collecting property tax, rural areas are not collecting property tax. Similarly, there are other kind of taxation also. There is taxation on advertisement etc., which are collected in rural area, urban areas, not collected in rural. There are parking charges etc. So this is also a fear among rural people that there would be more tax collection. The same thing, because there is revenue is collected, someone has to pay for it. So it is the rural people who will have to pay for it. They are afraid of it. And then the employment guarantee scheme which is there, which is being run by the central government, which is there, MG Narega, it is only for the rural areas. So this job guarantee, which is a legal guarantee, that would be lost if rural areas are merged with urban areas. And there can be cultural and social conflicts also. The cultures in the rural areas are definitely different from the cultures of urban areas. So these issues are there, which are cons of merging rural and urban local bodies. Here urban is there. So what's the way forward? What should we do? The suggestion that you should give is that we should do, I mean, if we have to merge the urban areas to rural areas to urban areas, see, this is the suggestion that I am taking, assuming that you are talking about in general, that in general whether rural local bodies should be merged with urban local bodies. Probably we should start with a pilot project. On pilot in few areas we should do it. See, whenever there is a question on any idea, that whether this idea should be done away or not, until unless this is something completely rejected by everyone. Everyone knows that this is a bad idea. Okay, you should not, or it is unconstitutional idea. That's something which is not allowed by constitution. It is against the judgment of the Supreme Court. You should not reject any idea. You should always say that yes, try it. Because UPSC would always prefer someone who is optimistic in nature, someone who is not afraid from doing experiment. So that's why you should say that yes, try it. What's wrong in it? So we need to do some pilot project, and in pilot project, the first of all implement or start is with merging panchayats around big municipal corporations, because that is the area which they have a lot around any big municipal corporation. There are going to be a lot of area which will have a semi-urban characteristic. So in this semi-urban characteristic regions, we can be merged with the nearby municipal corporation bodies. Okay, and there should be a regular assessment for urban growth, and there should be an objective criteria. It should not be a political decision. There should be objective criteria based on which we should decide that if a particular region should be fit for merging with the nearby urban region or not. Okay, so these are the suggestions that you can give in the conclusion. Yes, Yogesh. Yogesh is saying that we should identify the most blended villages with urban. Yeah, so we should have objective criteria to identify the blended villages. So this is never gonna happen that we are not merging at all. Every now and then, as an urban area is expanding, it has to be merged with the nearby, the rural local bodies of the nearby region has to be merged in the urban local bodies. Every city is expanding, that is a truth. So it cannot be the case that we are not merging at all. But overall, not having any distinction between rural areas and urban areas is also not the way to go. So we should have probably a middle path. We should do some pilot studies starting with the large municipal corporation merging with the nearby rural areas. Okay. Now we are going to deal with scheduled and tribal areas. These are all the topics that I expect to be asked. We have discussed about in general impact of local bodies. We have discussed about the issue of women reservation. We have discussed the challenges faced by local bodies, and then the idea of merging the rural local bodies with urban local bodies. Okay, gradual implementation of taxes on merged village. Yeah, that is also a good idea. That is also right. That you should not extend all the taxation policies, whatever be the merged villages. In case of merged villages, the taxation policy should be gradually expanded. The taxation policy should be gradually extended. So it's like if you are imposing say 15% taxes, you should distribute it over the period of 5 years. So first year it would be 3%, 6%, 9% or something like that. If it is a one-time taxation, so whatever be the taxation amount that you are demanding, demand it to be paid over a period of 5 years. So similar kind of things that can be done. Or like some taxes can be extended in the first year, some taxes can be extended in second year, or some taxes could be extended in third year and so on. This is something that have been done in most of the cases whenever they are merged. Next is scheduled areas and tribal areas. Scheduled areas are mentioned in schedule 5. Tribal areas are mentioned in schedule 6. Okay. In case of scheduled area, In case of scheduled area, there is a special power that have been given, various powers that have been given to governor. In case of tribal area, there is provision of autonomous regions, autonomous districts, and autonomous council. Okay. And why, while on schedule 5, there has already been a question that has been asked by the UPSC, we expect that the next time the question is to be asked on schedule 6 regions. And also because in the recent time, there has been agitation going on, like Ladakh, people in Ladakh are demanding that they should be given schedule 6 status. So we are going to discuss schedule 6 in detail. Out of context, sir, should we always write schedule numbers in Roman? Well, they are not writing it in Roman, they are writing sixth as this. So this is not necessary. I write is in Roman because probably in our constitution it is written in Roman. Okay, so it is definitely not necessary that you should always write in Romans. So in schedule area and tribal areas, this is something. And one more thing that I should be telling, why we have schedule areas and tribal areas. And the reason is, like, one reason which is obvious, which you will find always, is that because they have the high tribal population, and tribal population are culturally distinct, socially and culturally distinct. So that's why we wanted to give more autonomy to them. So to provide them more autonomy in governance, we wanted them to govern themselves. We do not want to govern those regions. They should not have the feeling of being governed by outsiders. So that's why we have given more protection to them through scheduled area and tribal area. But apart from that, there is a historical reason to it. During Britishers' time, alright, through Government of India Act 1935. In the Government of India Act 1935, there were provision for excluded region and partially excluded region. Okay, so these were the tribal regions were divided into excluded region, partially excluded region. Uh, the Britishers did, I mean, these were the regions which were not much in contact with the British administration. Okay, Britishers have their own reasons for not making them in contact, because they wanted to exploit these regions. They did not want the outsiders to go into that region. They did not want that these people should come in contact with them. There have also been, because of the tribal revolts, etc., also certain things have evolved. So there is a historical reason, and the same thing has been continued in post-independent constitution also. Okay, so this is a historical reason also to why we have Schedule 5 and Schedule 6 regions. Okay, it is said that we have seen that 60% of our constitution is the continuation of Government of India Act 1935. So this is also one of those continuations. Obviously, the exact provisions are not same which was there in Government of India Act 1935. Now let's come to see why people are demanding whatever they are demanding, why they are demanding. So whatever be the question, our answer is going to be around this only. Let's see, these are the benefits which the Schedule 6 region gets. And to get these benefits, the people of Ladakh are demanding for the Schedule 6 region. What are those benefits? So the benefit is that there is autonomy. there is autonomous district and regions. So suppose like one district have various different tribal group, that same district can be divided into autonomous region also. Okay, so there could be autonomous district or autonomous region, and there could be, if there is autonomous district, there could be autonomous district council, or there could be regional council. See, councils are same on the same line on at the state level. So if you can imagine, if we have to make the third tier of government, the government should have three different organ, or there are three different function. One should be legislative function, another should be executive function, and third should be the judicial function. Like legislative function have one, like law making. Executive functions include functions like regulation, and also there is a taxation function. This is an important function which is a part of legislature. If we look at the normal 73rd and 74th constitution amendment, it has mostly given the executive function to the local bodies and the taxation function, which is a kind of legislative function, but as such they do not act as a legislature. And definitely there is no judicial function with the 73rd Amendment Act or 74th Amendment Act. Whereas in Schedule 6, they have been given more autonomy. They have been given legislative powers, regulating power, executive power, as well as judicial powers. The crime that does not demand more than 5 years of imprisonment, those for those crimes, the trials can be done in village and district council court. So these councils can establish these courts which can try for crimes जिसमें in which there is punishment of less than or rather up to 5 years imprisonment. Okay, and obviously taxation powers are there with these councils. So they are more effectively third tier of governance. All the different organs of a state which are there, organs of the government are present here. And next thing is that whenever there would be like issue of tribals, the tribals issues are there because of the factors. First, because I mean whatever is the problem, those of you who have anthropology as your option, you must have studied it in more detail, but for general study I will give you a simple framework. The tribal issues are because we people have gone into tribal region. Since we reached the tribal region, because of which there is problem. This is the common understanding. So what problem did we create? That first is, see, when we went there, or rather the outsider went there. First of all, we imposed our culture. So there is cultural imposition. And one of the prominent part of this cultural imposition was the imposition of foreign liquor. See, there was always acceptance of liquor in the tribal community. They have their own locally made liquor and their body is adapted to that kind of liquor consumption. But they were not adapted to this foreign liquor. So liquor, and apart from the liquor, the Britishers also took various other kind of afim etc. also. So there is problem of liquor and intoxicants, drugs etc. Okay, which goes from outside. The local liquor is not a problem as such, because uh, since they are brewing it locally, there is no financial burden. Since their body is adopted, there is not much of health concern. Okay, so the problem started occurring only when outside liquor and intoxicant started reaching them. And invariably what happens when you are addicted to liquor? What will happen? There will be financial drain. So in case of financial drain, what you will do? You will have to borrow money. So there is also problems of money lending. Okay, and when you are being lent money. Money is obviously to be lent on certain interest rate, and you are not able to pay that interest rate. What will happen? First of all, because you are illiterate, you may not be able to understand the math behind how much you have to pay. You can be manipulated by these money lenders, and after money, you are not able to repay the money. What money lender will say that, okay, whatever the property that you have, you give that property to me because you are not able to repay my money. This is what banks do. So what is the property that they have? Land, and that land is taken away from them. So this is called land alienation. Outsiders go to those regions where tribals are living, and they somehow manage to snatch away or alienate tribals from their land holdings. Okay, this is these are the four core problems being faced by tribals. One is cultural imposition, another is problem with respect to liquor and intoxicant, money lending, and land alienation. Okay, so they have got the legislative power to regulate all these things, like to manage their own personal matters. Tribals have been given power to regulate about marriage, divorce, property, inheritance, etc., and all those matters. Okay, they can make law on land, forest, canals, etc. They can provide executive function is about drinking water, sanitation, health, education. Education can also be legislative function. All these things are there. Animal husbandry, all those things which are there in normally in the local bodies, they are there for executive function over there. They can regulate the money lending. They can regulate the function of use of liquor and intoxicant. So if you simply understand what are their problem, you can write all the points, and like you have to understand two framework. One is the problems of tribals. Another is what are the third tier, one tier of governance. What should they do? Merge them. You can write your answer. You need not remember. They have got the financial power of taxation, and they have got the judicial power. Okay. There was also a question in the prelims that what of the following provisions have a implication or repercussions regarding education. So see, if you have to protect your culture, invariably how you are going to protect the culture? This is the problem of culture imposition. Culture is propagated through education, or like they have legislative power to protect their culture. It will also include education, and they can also provide as a part of their executive function. They can provide education. So definitely sixth schedule have a bearing on education. Okay, one aspect which is there that this is the last part that I have to teach you. This is something we have a little less time, so I will go quickly. If you have any doubt, you may ask. You can also ask your doubt through comment section. I will definitely reply to your comments. So one part that is asked is that what is the role of governor in schedule 6? The role of governor is more prominent in case of schedule 5, but still in terms of schedule 6 also the governor has an empowered role to play. Like governor is empowered to organize and reorganize the autonomous regions, autonomous districts and council. This power is with governor, whereas in case of schedule 5 the power is with president. Okay, so here governor has more power. Governor also nominates 4 members to these councils, whether it is district council or regional councils. Governor nominate 4 members, and these nominated members remain in office till they enjoy the pleasure of pleasure of governor. Okay, and whatever be the laws, like legislative power is there, the laws have to get the assent of governor to be effective. So it's the same thing, like if anyone is making a law, if parliament is making a law, it has to get the assent of president. a state legislature making a law, it has to get the assent of governor. There is no equivalent post, no post equivalent to governor in case of these regional councils. So that role is also being performed by governor. And even regulations require the assent of governor. Even the act of parliament or a state legislature can be modified or restricted by governor. See, governor has a lot of, whatever the act or regulation is being made by this council, on that also governor has a say. Whatever the act is being made by parliament or state legislature, on that also governor has a say. So governor is playing a very critical role in governance of Schedule 6 region, and in the end it has the power to dissolve a council as well. Okay, so this is, if a question is asked what is the role of governor, you have to say that governor has a very important role to play. So that's why governor has to be actively involved in the interest of tribal people in these regions. Okay, so that's all that I had to cover. And if you have any doubt, as I told you, you must ask in the comment section. And whatever is your feeling about this session, you must let me know through your comments. And the least you can do is to press the like button right now and share with your friends. Tell them also to attend the classes in the live session. We will have more of such examples related class where you will learn about the various dimensions, etc. And tomorrow we are going to start the parliament. If you want to connect with me on any of my social media handles, you can connect. The username is same in all the social media handle, that is Madhusudan_IIT. So see you tomorrow at 2 p.m. with the next topic, that is parliament. Have a nice day. Take care.